Hi, welcome to Hill's Kitchen. And today, bitch, we're back. I'm supposed to stop swearing, so ignore that. Anyway, I'm making a HelloFresh edition of Sweet Greens harvest salad. The chicken comes pre-cooked. I don't know if that's gonna be safe, but I'm gonna try it. If I die and y'all never see me again, you know why. But yes, I'm about to try it, and it should be very simple. It says it only takes like 10 minutes to make, so we're gonna see. Oh, and by the way, today's topic is having an identity crisis. In the sweet green salad, there's roasted sweet potatoes, so I'm about to roast some sweet potatoes. I put my oven on like 375, and that's the only ingredient I'm really adding. Everything else is included. Sorry, my lighting is a mess. Whoops, but y'all know what I look like, so it's fine. Having an identity crisis. I feel like this can look like, you know what, let me just come over here. Okay, I feel like that can look like a lot of different things. I feel like it's a rite of passage. Like, if you haven't had an identity crisis yet, it's coming. To me, it's proof that you're alive. Proof that you're still hanging in there. You ought to be having them throughout your life. I feel like that's normal. I don't think it's anything to panic over. I feel like I shouldn't be cutting this right here. You know what? Forget it. You know what? We'll start with the apple. Yes, I feel like identity crises are normal. And I think by not acknowledging that, then we make it seem as if it's the end of the world if we have one, when in actuality, you ought to be having one. Because here's my thing. If you're growing, maturing, and evolving throughout the years of your life, you are gonna then have moments where you're like, damn, who am I really? Or like, oh, is this really what I want? Am I sure about this? Wow, how did I get here? Like, I feel like moments like that should be normalized. As you become that girl, as you become the best version of yourself, it does make sense that your taste would change, your lifestyle would change, your goals would change, and your surroundings would change. But see, here's my thing. I feel like an identity crisis can come from both ends, either a lack of growth or a lot of growth back to back. But in my experience, my identity crises have really come from just looking up and realizing, oh wow, like this is adult me. This is my future. Am I okay with said future? At the time, I would feel like, oh my God, like something's wrong with me for feeling this way, or like having these big questions and there not being an immediate answer. And, you know, then striving and doing the most to get an answer to that, when I've learned through living that life answers it for you. That's something I wish younger me knew, was that all the things I had questions about were going to get answered, just not in my timeline. Like, that's the word right there, not in my timeline. That's why I feel like identity crises are very important, like coming of age moments, because if you're not asking yourself those questions, I don't feel like you're really growing. Realistically, if everything is staying the same in your life year in and year out, whether that's like emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationally, like if everything's staying the same year in and year out, I'm concerned for you. I think that's how people can have midlife crises, when either they've gone down the same path too fast, too long, or not enough variety has been brought in to constantly be like testing the waters to make sure, oh, this is the right boat for me, this is the right direction. Because think about it, if you ain't got no storms, it's easy to be like, oh, everything is great, yeah, it's a wonderful day to sail. You can talk a good game when nothing's going on in your life. Let life happen a little bit, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like, was I always moving like this? How did the years go by so fast? What's going on? Like, you suddenly feel this anxiety, right? And again, I feel like that can be resolved through time, but it's not the kind of thing you can just like resolve in 5 minutes. I think identity crises are needed, but they require you sifting through everything you're feeling and thinking and processing it, instead of being like, oh no, like I don't want to feel this like uneasiness or uncertainty, so I'm gonna just like pretend that I'm fine. That is not the tea. I will say the other form of identity crisis is like, oh, I don't know who I am anymore, in the sense of like, these other things gave me identity and I didn't ever stop to form my own identity. That's a whole separate business, because that's the thing. Short term very quickly becomes long term. So it's easy to say, oh, I would never do that. I would never be caught up in that. And then you doing stuff just to get by, just to feel something, and then you're in too deep. Next, I have to rinse this and then put it in a bowl, and then I will circle back to this. So I just need salt and pepper. Salt. Yikes, do we not have pepper? Nar. Am I crazy? I don't see pepper. I'm ready to fight. Hello? Ew. Okay, never mind. I thought I had oil. I don't have oil. I'm sure this is far too much salt. Whoops. I don't see pepper. Like, what? Like, bro. Are y'all dead ass? Like, that's why you check. Okay, here we go. Yes, okay, so identity crises, when you don't actually know who you are anymore, that's deep stuff. But I think that's important because if you don't ever ask yourself that, how do you know if you like yourself? How do you know if you love yourself? Can't nobody answer that but you. So it's easy to be like, yeah, of course I love myself. But again, if you get identity from a job, from a career, from a significant other, from social media, like, yeah, you are bound to have an identity crisis. I feel like we don't want to answer that question. We want other things to answer it for us. Like, oh no, like, of course I'm good because look how much money I make. Of course I'm good because I accomplished all my goals. Or, oh, of course I'm good because I'm finally married. Like, it's very easy to like look for external things to justify why you like yourself. But if you can't really name anything about yourself that aren't like circumstances, I would argue you don't like yourself. I like myself for a lot of reasons, but I love myself not only because I'm very proud of who I've become, but I feel like I've done right by my inner child, my inner teen, and my young adult self. And thus I'm very excited to pass the torch to my future self. And that's because I feel like all versions of me culminated into a really great finished product, even though I'm not finished. I'm very down for what I got going on. Like, I like that I'm brave because that wasn't always true. I like that I'm courageous because that wasn't always true. I like that I'm funny. Like, I feel like that was kind of there the whole time, but it hits different now as an adult as opposed to like when you're like 9 trying to be funny. I would say the other quality I really like about myself is that I'm confident and self-assured because I wasn't like that as a kid. I couldn't walk into a room and know who I was. And even if I did, I couldn't articulate it. Whereas now as an adult, like, you could put me in any room and I'm gonna be fine. Life happening and all these wild trials and tribulations going down in my life gave me opportunities to be who I want to be. I was not brave my whole adolescence. Like, I didn't want to upset anybody. So I was like, oh my God, but what if I fail? Nobody's going to believe I could be good at this. Nobody's going to think that I could ever tell my story or like have something relevant to say. Like, that just did not compute to me. So again, I was sitting on a lot of talent, ideas, and vision simply because I didn't have the identity. I didn't have the character to follow through. But then I grew up and I realized, actually, this is the only life I get. Like, and you know what? The Bible did say in Psalms 139 that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, and you know what? Ephesians 2:10 sure did say that we are God's handiwork, chosen to do works that he's already written for us. So I was like, you know what? I'm playing safe and I'm tired. Y'all don't really know the real me. And I was like, the real me likes taking risks. The real me likes sharing her opinion. The real me likes marching to the beat of my own drum, and whether people get it, then they get it, and if they don't, they don't. So then when I got to college, I was like, bitch, I'm doing a full rebrand. I'm sorry. Like, these people don't know me. And so then it's like me showing up with all this fear doesn't even make sense. I was like, I'm in a whole different state, a whole different region of the United States. Like, these people do not know me. Like, why am I scared? Like, what am I scared of? And then it's like, what I love about life, you can always change. So again, the same way I did a full rebrand at 18 years old is the same way then I was doing more rebrands when I was like, yeah, guys, I'm studying abroad in Italy. And I was like, yeah, guys, like, I want to go into fashion, but like, I'm not going to transfer because like, I feel like I'm in too deep to transfer. I will stay at Carnegie Mellon, like, even though I don't want to be here. I was like, I'll stay because I feel like if God really wanted me to leave, he would make it clear. Then, of course, when I went to law, people were like, how did you go from fashion to law? And I'm like,
I mean, the correct answer is God, but if we had to get into it, it's because like those facets of my identity are equally there. I always wanted to go into fashion and like the arts, but at the same time, I didn't like my options that were there. Like I didn't want to do marketing, communications. It was really process of elimination, realizing, oh, the things I actually want to do would make the most sense with a law degree. I needed those seasons to cultivate my identity, and I think that wouldn't have happened if I was so caught up in everybody else. By me being a risk taker, then I was willing to do a lot of stuff, and I like could really decide what I did like and what I didn't like. And I think had I continued to play it safe, I simply would not be who I am. I want what I want, and I know what I stand for, so I'm willing to like look crazy, look bizarre, look confusing, look uncomfortable, just to like see if I can do it. So no, I didn't just wake up brave, but like step by step, I was like, actually, I'm gonna go for study abroad. I'm gonna go for this major. Doing that enough time will create a track record where you say, okay, I actually trust myself. I like myself. And when I did these things over here, that's the me that I like the most. So these things I was doing over there, that's not actually me, because I wasn't about that. But this, I'm about that. And then you just re-up, being like, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna keep showing up for that. I'm gonna keep being serious about that. Now, I did not finish this. I need to do that real quick. I'm finally ready, which means I'm putting this in. I'm gonna do top rack just so it's quicker. I don't even think I need that much time. I think I'm only gonna have it in for like 5 minutes. Back to what I was saying. I feel like we just don't want to take the risk that would allow us to find out who we are. Ooh! But it's the truth, it's the truth. I think, again, God gives you vision, and that answers a lot of things. And so I think, real talk, if you aren't religious, I do feel like trying to find that identity is 10 times harder, simply because you're looking to other things to answer that question for you, or to like make it all make sense. Whereas like realistically, God is going to make it make sense, because He's not going to have you out here doing nothing just for the hell of it. Like it all serves purpose. And that's one of my favorite things about being Christian, is just like, and nothing's wasted. My first job ever was selling Cutco knives, like which now at 18 I was like, bro, are you serious? Like I was applying to all these places. Nobody gave me the time of day. Mind you, first job only lasted like 2 months, because then I went to college. But like I was so sad. I was like, this is embarrassing. Real ones know. My former classmates gonna run up on this and be like, actually, I do remember that. Autumn sure did come to my house and was selling Cutco knives. And you know what? Even though it was embarrassing, right? Guess what? I still have those knives to this day. And those knives are serving me in a completely different season of my life. I don't even know how old I would have been when I invested in knives. It's because I was never into cooking like that. Now, these knives gonna change the game. Now they're not on me right now, but this is a Cutco knife, please know. I would have never been prepared for this moment, or even starting this journey, or restarting this journey, if I didn't even have the Cutco knives that I invested in 10 years ago. I simply would have never invested in that had it been left to me. And so maybe God literally had me do that just so I could have knives for this moment. Now, see, other people would be like, oh, that's just such a funny coincidence. And I'm like, yeah, God doesn't operate in coincidences. Like, just so y'all know. And it's funny because there were so many seasons where I was like, bro, why do I still have these knives? Like, why do I, like, they don't go with nothing. Like, why do I even care like that? I just stuck with them. I wasn't gonna leave them or forsake them. I was like, well, they are good knives. And I halfway knew my way around a kitchen in terms of like what knives to use for what, simply because of me selling Cutco. Even though I didn't even have the cooking skill set. Life is funny. Like, she'll have you exactly where you need to be without you even realizing. I was thinking about this the other day. I think going to Carnegie Mellon was just as hard as law school, if not harder. But then there's where I'm at now, and I'm like, oh no, I'm glad I halfway had that foundation, because even that wasn't enough to prepare me for how hard I need to work. But like, it was a good start. And I just had no exposure to working hard, no exposure to like discipline and adversity and diligence, I wouldn't even think to go back to law school, because I'd be like, oh, there's no way I could do it. Whereas when I failed, I was like, no, that's not who I am. Hello, I was like, that's not who I am. Like, y'all don't understand. Like, I don't care what my grades say. Like, I know who the fuck I am. I know what I'm capable of. And see, that's why you gotta know your identity, because life will get you fucked up sometimes. And they'll be like, oh, so this isn't for you. And you're like, actually, yes, it is. And the other times they're like, is this for you? And you're like, no, baby, it's not. I'm not one of your little friends. This is not for me. Like, like, don't get it twisted. I feel like life gives you a lot of opportunities to identify who you are. And I think that terrifies people. We're afraid that we may not like the answer we get. But ideally, you should love yourself. So, I mean, even if stuff gets a little ugly, a little funky, you ought to still love yourself through that. You're gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna love every season of your life. It's not always gonna be like, you know, giggles and rainbows. Like, it is gonna get a little real. And in the process of it getting real, you may do things that you no longer identify with. Or you evolve and you're like, ooh, I'm actually really embarrassed by how I used to move, how I used to talk, how I used to approach certain things. But that's okay, because guess what? Then you always get to, like, you know, take that accountability and then learn from it and move on. It's not like, oh, well, because I used to smoke, I'm always gonna be seen as a pothead. Or, oh, because I used to drink, I gotta still drink because nobody knows who I am without that. I'm like, girl, just show them what you're like. Now that you don't smoke, now that you don't drink, now that you're not, like, working in that industry. They don't know the new you till you show them. That's really all it comes down to. So it's not like, oh, I'm stuck doing this because it's what I've been doing. No, you stuck doing it because that's the you that keeps doing it. Like, if you just stop and switch gears, everybody has to, like, halfway acknowledge it. You know, they may not like it, they may not approve of it, but they do have to acknowledge it. Like, you don't owe them the old you. Y'all don't want me to say it, but it's true. You don't owe them the old you. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to move. You're allowed to want better, restructure, think bigger, rebrand. Like, that is your prerogative every day of the week. I would never sit up here and think, oh, because they only knew me like that, that's the only me I'll ever be. Or that's the only me I'm capable of. They don't even know how it's all going to shake out in the end. So to me, I'm like, how dare you genuinely believe that you can't ever be anything more than what everybody's seen from you? It's just like Nicki Minaj talked about. Like, you were effing with the old body. Like, this is the new body. Like, you know, new body who this, new identity who this. Like, they cannot stop you. If a crisis is then what leads you there, I will argue all the better. It's not fun. It's not exciting, but it is necessary, and good comes out of crisis because you need to know who you are. And again, that you looks different in every stage of your life. You can't be scared of identity crisis. You can't prevent it. It's gonna happen anyway. Like, is that fine? Like, I'm gonna do that anyway. Like, so if you're gonna grow and evolve anyway, you might as well become your best self. I'm almost done. Let me pull this stuff out the oven. Look how good this looks. Look how good that looks. That's roasted apple, roasted sweet potatoes. I'm gonna put a little salt on my... Ooh, I did that dirty. Oh my God, I should have just done a pinch. I was playing. Don't even talk to me about what I just did. So I'm gonna give Miss Sweetgreen a run for her money. I don't have feta cheese. That would set it all the way off, but it's okay. My old friends are gonna laugh at this because they know in my family a salad was literally just lettuce and Thousand Island dressing. And I remember they were like, oh, that's what you call a salad. I've come a long way. Now we can make fun of 20-year-old me because I do see how that is not a salad. We all have a different walk. We all have a different needs, different things we gotta go through, you know? Don't you just hate not being in your true kitchen? Because I'm struggling. Like, this isn't hard. It's just unfamiliar. You know what I mean? Ooh, let's speak on that. When you are sorting out your identity crisis, a lot of things feel unfamiliar. You're like, ooh, is this still what I like to do? Am I cool with what this is providing me? Is this who I want to be with? In the moment, it can feel like, oh, this isn't giving, but give it a minute. Because if you jump too soon, you won't know. You won't know whether it was the right choice or not. Whereas if you give it a minute, it's like, okay, now I can say for certain that I made the right choice versus, oh no, it is time to go. No, guys, it looks so good. You don't even know. You can't even see it from here. But I'm about to show you. Y'all finna see. I'm doing what I gotta do. And I'm making a huge mess, as per usual, but it looks great. So they told me to mix it all throughout, but I'm gonna just drizzle it on top because I still want to add cheese. It looks so artistic, so sexy. Looking like I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, okay? Move. No, I showed out a little bit. Listen, we've come a long way since the 2015 Autumn Hill salad. Again, identity change. If you had told younger me that I would reach a point where I would halfway know how to cook or that I could be leading cooking series, I would laugh. I would be like, oh no, y'all got the wrong one. But that's just proof that anything is possible. I could have melted it, but I'm not tripping. I'm really not. Okay. I think that's it, girls. I think that's it. Okay, do you peep that? Like, that looks really good. Like, it's a serve, like, all the way around. It's done. It looks great. I'm gonna take a bite, and then I'm out. Oop. My bad. Child, the kitchen's a mess, but that's the least of our problems. Like, I will let future me clean up the kitchen. Okay, now, I obviously could have mixed this better, but just for the sake of the video, I'm gonna see, does it actually taste the way Sweetgreen would want? Honestly, yes. The only thing it's missing is the almonds. I'm mad. If I had almonds, over for these girls. Like, that's literally all it's missing. So if you really want to recreate it, get some almonds because it would slap. Otherwise, it's perfect. I mean, I have cheddar cheese instead of feta, and I don't have almonds. But other than that, bars. Like, a very good salad. Points were made. It did take longer than 10 minutes, but that's because I decided to add sweet potatoes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I will be back next week. Y'all see this? I'm actually back every week. Isn't that crazy? What? Gotta love consistency. Anyway, that's it. It's been real, and off I go.